Coming up on today's episode of Airborne, we check out Redbird's Dusty Crophopper theme simulator. Senator Inhofe says there can be challenges getting his Senate colleagues to recognize the importance of general aviation. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV, coming to you today from the beautiful seaplane base at AirVenture. Dusty Crophopper saves the day again in Disney's Planes, Fire and Rescue. And now Redbird Flight Simulations has a way for you to help him get the job done. ANN's Tom Patton talks with Redbird's Josh Harnagel to find out how they made it happen.
We were approached by Disney to put together a simulator to help promote their new movie, Planes, Fire and Rescue. And it's based off of one of our series simulators, the MX2. We took that device, we added these fancy Dusty-specific graphics, and then using our new technology called Trace, we built a mission or a scenario so kids and really anybody can get in and get a chance to fly and put out a fire just like Dusty. And it talks you through it, it gives you guidance. It's a really fun experience. We're always looking for ways to expand the reach of aviation, and simulators, because they're portable, they're a lot less expensive than an airplane, and they can be a lot more easily approached and engaging for audiences. They're a great way to bring aviation out, and it's something we're always looking for, ways to expand it, ways to introduce people to what they could experience in aviation, and ideally bring it to them instead of forcing them to come out to the airport.
ANN's Tom Patton had the chance to sit down with Oklahoma U.S. Senator James Inhofe at AirVenture. Senator Inhofe has long been a supporter of all facets of aviation in our country, and in particular, he's a good friend of general aviation. Tom asked the senator how both houses of the government can be brought on board as to the importance of this industry.
One of the problems is there are very few of them that are in there, and I can remember back when I did the fix in the law for Bob Hoover to keep him in the sky. There are many people there at that time that the answer was always, Inhofe, they're all fat cats. I said, you come to Oshkosh, you see these normal, they're single issue people, but they're building airplanes in the garages. They're doing things that, and if you ever saw a more down-to-earth group, it's your general aviation public. So people who say, and there's still a lot of them that say, well, they're not sympathetic. Here's one problem that you have. If you have general aviation, as a group, there aren't that many of us. I know people think there are, but not as many as there are farmers, not as many as there are manufacturers, and others that can have some stroke because there are more. In the case of Obama and his user fees, he'll do anything he can to get user fees, and he tries to say, well, since he doesn't have their support anyway, he's going to load up everything on them. He's even talking about and trying to push for his $100 a trip user fees to use the system. You know, confession is good for the soul. I can tell you what I would do. I just wouldn't file. I just wouldn't go to them. I'm not going to spend. Sometimes I'll take as many as 6 or 7 trips in one day. That'd be $600 or $700 to use a system that we're already paying for through our fuel tax. But nonetheless, there are a lot of people who have written off that public, and that's why my job's a little harder.
You're watching Airborne. We'll be back with more news on what's happening at EAA AirVenture.
AML introduces the 100, the first Wi-Fi-only router designed to work with most SATCOM systems. Amazingly small with 8 to 48-volt DC input, the 100 supports almost any application across multiple platforms. AML's line means you're not limited to one phone manufacturer, as it works with all Wi-Fi-enabled devices. www.aviationmodificationleaders.com. Finally, the extraordinary story of the world-changing XPRIZE space competition is being told and illustrated with hundreds of insider photos in Jim Campbell's colorful new book, Beyond the Blue. Journey with Jim as he flies formation with spaceships, plays in zero gravity, prepares rocket racers, and documents the amazing first decade of the personal space race. Available this summer. Get your advance order in now by checking out www.kindredspirit.com.
The Bendix King KLR-10 Lift Reserve Indicator is now available for certified aircraft. It is an affordable, intuitive device for angle of attack awareness. Mounted on the glare shield, KLR-10 provides visual and audible lift cues while scanning for traffic or monitoring the runway on approach.
Since 2001, MGL Avionics has produced avionics for experimental and light sport aircraft. The flagship product is the IEFIS, a comprehensive next-generation flight, engine, and navigation instrument designed to meet the demands of the modern pilot. See more at www.mglavionics.com.
ForeFlight Mobile gives you better situational awareness, more productivity, and simplified decision-making in one elegant app. Start your 30-day trial today and discover the joy of flying with ForeFlight.
We're back with Airborne at AirVenture. Aspen Avionics announced it has expanded its ADS-B product line to include more options to meet the next-gen ADS-B mandate. And as Aspen announced their new product, it happens to coincide with the 10th anniversary of when the FAA announced their selection of the ADS-B concept, and the 10th year since the founding of Aspen Avionics. Aspen's single-band and dual-band ADS-B solutions are all compatible with Aspen Evolution PFDs and MFDs, and they say their expanded ADS-B product line provides the features pilots want, while leveraging installed avionics to keep flyaway costs low. Aspen Avionics was the first avionics manufacturer to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Next Gen GA Fund, a public-private partnership whose goal is to help operators meet the ADS-B mandate. Why is the F-35 Lightning II referred to as a fifth-generation fighter? And how does it accomplish the complex mission of supporting our armed forces and our allies? ANN CEO and Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell flies the F-35 simulator at the Ford Pavilion during AirVenture to answer some questions and demonstrate its capabilities.
This is a combat-configured airplane, 18,000 pounds of gas, internal bomb load and missiles, and 39,000 pounds of thrust has a lot of capability. This is a 9G airplane right now. Because they're still expanding the flight envelope, they're not flying it up to 9Gs, but it'll eventually be there. Energy-wise, when you look at the charts, again, between the F-16, F-18, they're really pretty close overall. Again, I talked about fusion. The real nice thing is that everything is displayed on one screen, the TSD, Tactical Situation Display. In the older fighters, F-16, I would have 3 different TVs there and a radar warning receiver scope. And what I got was information from each of those systems that I had to fuse in my brain. On here, it's all put together in one screen. Everything that the airplane knows through its own sensors and everything that it's sharing through other airplanes out there via the data links. How it's going to compare with anything we're likely to fight. Right now, we're ahead, so that's good news, okay? But if you follow the news and you look at what the Chinese are doing, you know, they got our secrets. How, we don't know, but they got our secrets. So it's a little scary. Yeah. They're building airplanes very fast. They're building a lot of different airplanes. You know, it looks like they have pretty good manufacturing capability. I'm not sure if they have the same capability as far as their avionics and software. There's 9.3 million lines of software code running the systems and sensors and fusing them together on this airplane. And I would bet that right now the Chinese can't do that as well as we can. But I'm not very confident that it'll take very long for them to catch up. So from my role at doing F-35 experimentation in those sorts of scenarios, the 5th gen v 5th gen fight is a tough fight. And so how long we'll have the advantage, that's hard to know. So that's why, you know, international partners, strength in numbers, you know, it's important that we have these airplanes out. And the other aspect of that is the supportability aspect. Because when you have a common platform out there across the international spectrum, now you have the parts chain that goes with it. You have, you know, whatever support you need. It's not just me who's going to an austere location. I've got partners with me who are needing the same parts, they're needing the same software support, they're needing that same chain to keep it going, and ultimately that's what it's about. Okay. You know, when you go out there, you know, a big issue is how many of your airplanes are actually ready to go out there and fight the war today. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you need to be able to see 85–90% mission capable rates when the time comes. And right now we're not there because we are developing and testing the airplane while we're out there flying it in training and trying to get it operational. And the pilots love it. You know, the airplane is performing well. There's not a single guy I've heard say a bad thing other than, you know, they like everything to be perfect just like pilots do. Mm-hmm. But the airplane is performing well and they really like the capabilities that it's bringing.
Airborne at AirVenture is brought to you by some of the best sponsors in the aviation business. We'll be right back with more news.
The aviation industry is far too automated and impersonal. Levels of care, service, and focus on customers have faded. Concierge provides premier customer care, leading our industry on a return to service. Find us at www.concierge.aero.
Who doesn't love to fly on a beautiful day? Views like these are half the reason you got a pilot's license in the first place. But as we all know, conditions change quickly. Sure, you've trained, but how often have you used that training in actual conditions? That's where the IMC Club comes in. If it's important to becoming a better pilot, we've got it covered. Because at IMC Club, our goal is to help pilots everywhere to be safer, smarter, and ready for anything.
The new TN70 from Trig Avionics combines a WAAS GPS receiver and matching antenna in one convenient and affordable package. It's the smart way to achieve ADS-B out compliance. Contact your approved Trig dealer now. Find out more at trigavionics.com.
$295 and counting. That's the number of lives saved so far by the revolutionary BRS airframe parachute. See and read why BRS can keep you safe at www.brsparachutes.com.
Welcome back to Airborne at EAA AirVenture Oshkosh. The EAA held its annual membership meeting on Wednesday, and about 100 members were in attendance. However, the Secretary received over 28,000 proxies. EAA Chairman Jack Pelton's report to the members could be summarized as things are looking good and getting better. He discussed the new website, formation of a volunteer advisory committee, and a new mobile application for AirVenture to be developed by the EAA. Memberships have increased, and new lifetime members increased by more than 1,000 last year. After the official business, the floor was open to the members, and productive discussions ensued. Directors elected to 3-year terms on the board were Mark Osman, Richard Beatty, Richard Beebe, Keith Kokorek, Dan Moshka, and Charlie Precourt. It's hard to believe it's been just 10 years since Burt Rutan's Spaceship One showed the world just what us homebuilders are capable of. In addition to Oshkosh 2014 being the launching point for Jim Campbell's book about the extraordinary first XPRIZE decade, it was also an amazing place to hear XPRIZE luminaries Greg Marinac, Eric Lindbergh, and Doug Shane, who was recently promoted to president of the Spaceship Company, talk about making history with none other than David Hartman himself at the Theater in the Woods. You're watching Airborne at AirVenture. We'll be right back with more news from Oshkosh.
Small, light, and ADS-B compatible. The Sandia Aerospace STX-165 Mode AC transponder provides an uncommon value for today's aircraft. Check it out now at www.sandia.aero.
Concorde Platinum Series batteries are available for all aircraft and offer extra cranking power, resulting in less draw on the battery per cycle for longer life. Visit booth 2053 in Oshkosh. Concorde, for the heart of your aircraft.
The debate is no longer about upgrading GA aircraft with NextGen, it's about financing it. The NextGen GA Fund is about doing just that. Find out more at www.nextgenfund.com.
The Evolution Flight Display System from Aspen Avionics delivers unique reliability and safety features to GA pilots and is truly the most flexible and affordable EFIS available. Aspen Avionics, a new way to look at avionics.
Waco Classic Aircraft now offers the Great Lakes 2T1A2. Inspired by the classic YMF 5D, it's smaller but with 180 horsepower, simpler avionics, and fully aerobatic. Waco lets you fly simply for the fun of it. www.wacoaircraft.com.
This Aero-TV segment is brought to you by iFlight Planner. It's time to elevate your flight planning experience with General Aviation's most comprehensive suite of easy-to-use flight planning tools. Make the switch and plan your next flight with iFlight Planner.
On the eve of AirVenture 2014, ANN's Jim Campbell sat down with EAA Chairman Jack Pelton. In this last portion of the interview, the two discuss the future of innovation and an Oshkosh without Paul.
So let's circle around then. I asked a little while ago about using the ASTM standard for the industry to develop consensus standards and kind of do its own thing and regulate itself, which, quite frankly, if you look at the nature of the work that actually got done under ASTM, it really was fine work. Is this industry capable, though, of that much self-determination if, in fact, it comes to pass? Are we that mature as an industry?
I firmly believe we are. And here's kind of why my thesis is that we are. You look at what was done in ASTM, and in some areas, it was tougher than the Part 23 requirements. Where it needed to be. We are in a technical industry that has engineering minds that are going to want to make sure they do things that are technically correct, technically safe. In many cases, they'll over-engineer things if you let them. So that is one of the underpinnings that's important. But the second piece to this is there's a thing called the liability associated with it. And so there is nobody that's going to want to take shortcuts and then have that end up in court as the reason for why they're having to pay out big settlements. But, you know, I've always argued, even in Part 23 cert, we are going to do what's right and then some, because we have an obligation to our customers, to the safety, and the fact that you can get sued at the end of the day if you didn't. So why would we not be able to do this?
It is amazing to me just how much sprung out of this whole movement and eventually put guys like Burt Rutan in charge of spaceships. I mean, who'd have thought?
Who would have thought? But I think, to your point, is we need to celebrate it, but we need to start talking about what's next. It was a monumental kind of resurrection of what's possible. I'll even go as far as say it's the post-John Kennedy, let's put somebody on the moon kind of challenge, and we need that again. You know, let's try to figure out what's possible and not have any boundaries on it. Create a new challenge that will get people breaking through some of those things that we talked about earlier as to whether it be propulsion or aerodynamics or any of that. So that's where I would like to see the discussion go.
First year of Oshkosh without Paul. How do we do that? Where do we go from here? And ultimately, what will the house that Paul built bring about?
It's been really tough with Paul's passing, and I think you'll see out there this year, we're trying to make sure that his legacy will continue. We've got some great things at our membership tent that walk through the history of what Paul has done and what was the foundation of this organization and Oshkosh as an event. I'm hoping that what this will occur this year, while we're going to be sad not to see him running around, it will get people to really take a step back and say, those principles were very foundational and we need to really grab a hold of them and make sure that they're institutionalized going forward. And I feel good about that, because I think it's the reflection I've had personally in going through his, we call them his Paulisms, about what this is all about. They are timeless, they are important, they're what we need to continue, and I think we all, when we reflect on it, you know, I've been coming to Oshkosh forever myself. I've seen all the airplanes. I mean, there are new things you see, but I've seen every warbird you can see and every unique vintage airplane you can see, and you ask yourself, then why are you coming here every year? Because it is this community, it is the people, it is the participation and the social aspect of it, which is one of Paul's values that he created, the cleanliness of the facility, doing it right. And when you really spend time thinking about that, you say, I've got to make sure, not only me personally, but we as an organization and those who show up have to continue that in perpetuity. I mean, that's just, we're going to make that happen, Jim. And there will never be another Paul Poberezny here. We know that. What he has done is absolutely beyond visionary, and we need to celebrate that every year.
Getting here once a week every year and seeing what's new and revisiting and being thankful for all the amazing things that have occurred here. And yeah, I'll bitch and I'll moan and I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll create whatever ruckus I feel I need to be created here, but it's Oshkosh. It always has been Oshkosh. It will always be Oshkosh.
It will. And I think this is going to be one of the national treasures that lives on forever. We hope next year there will be some surprises that will come about with some announcements that Bert's working on that, you know, we'll recreate that and start our next revitalization of what Paul created.
Well, when Bert's involved, amazing things happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Jim.
As always.
You bet.
Much appreciated.
Well, that'll do it for our airborne coverage of EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2014. Be sure to check out our website and Aero-TV for more stories from Oshkosh. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.